How's it going, all you Minties? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be listening to a bunch of YouTube content creators talk about their favorite read of 2022. So, join me. Welcome back, all you Minties. So, today, I did want to do something different. Usually I'm back there talking about books, sitting down, looking at the computer, announcing breaking news, or I have a book here doing overviews or reading orders. And at the end of each year, I've done a top 10 favorite collected edition that came out in the year, or my top 10 read, the books I'm looking forward to the most in the next year. But today I wanted to get the YouTube content creator community involved. So with the help of TaylorTalksComics, who is running our social media, we reached out to some content creators and asked what their favorite read of 2022 is. And that's what we're doing today. So I actually get to sit back and listen to content creators talk about their favorite read. So that's something new for me. You get to sit back and enjoy what everybody else has enjoyed this particular year. You're going to see some familiar faces. Some of these wonderful folks have been on the show with me. Some of them are part of this channel, but don't get the spotlight like I do. But I wanted to make sure that I ask people that create the kind of content that usually have something to do with graphic novels or comics. So let's enjoy this together.
I read a lot of books this year, and this one stood out among all of them as my favorite book of the year. It's called This Is Our Pact by Ryan Andrews and is published by First Second, one of my favorite comic book publishers. This is the story about a group of kids who go looking for answers as to why there are floating lanterns that are released down a river once every year. Where do the lanterns end up? Where do they go? So they get on their bikes and start exploring, and pretty soon a bunch of them give up, and there are two boys who are left who want to continue the quest, and they have an incredible adventure. This is a really, really heartwarming story about two boys who aren't friends, and in fact, one aspires to be like the other, and the other doesn't want to have this other kid hanging around them. And they just have a remarkable adventure. Plus, there is a talking bear that shows up and rides on this bicycle. I don't know if there are any of these pictures here that show the bear. But, oh yeah, there he is down at the bottom. If you are a fan of adventure stories, especially 1980s adventure movies like E.T. or Goonies, I think that you'll really enjoy this. It has that kind of feeling to it. The pacing, the artwork, the type of adventure it is. It all makes me feel very nostalgic for 1980s movies, and it's a really, really great read. So the artwork is a little on the cartoony side, but I absolutely love it. It's perfect for this kind of story, and Ryan Andrews is an excellent storyteller, so I totally recommend checking out This Is Our Pact, Ryan Andrews from First Second Books.
Hey there, all you Minties. What in the world is going on? What is happening? We have worlds converging. We have realities merging. We've got the guy from LarrysLibrary on Near Mint Condition. I don't know, it's crazy. But I'm here to talk about my favorite read of 2022. And this was an easy one for me. It's this book right here, The Dark Room. This is an original graphic novel by Jerry Duggan and artist Scott Buoncristiano. And he is fantastic. Take a look at these scans. This guy's incredible. This book is sort of in the vein of like the Supernatural TV series, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, that sort of thing. If you are into that kind of stuff, then you're going to love this, and you should get it. It is fantastic. I had so much fun reading this. This was my funnest read for sure of 2022, and that's why it was an easy pick for me. And I understand we're getting a volume 2 probably next summer. Scott's working on that right now, he told me. And I told him I want at least 5 more of these. Go get this now. It's a nice oversized hardcover, and it's fantastic. Pick it up. And thanks, Omar, for having me.
All right, hello everyone, it's silverkyle, and first of all, I would like to thank Omar at Near Mint Condition for including me in this. I'm extremely grateful, as Before, my channel was about video games, TV shows, movies, definitely nerdy things. But then I found Near Mint Condition, and it completely rekindled my love for comic books. So much so that it's kind of taken over my channel. I still cover the other nerdy things, but omnibus and comic books are definitely at the forefront. Which is why I'm extremely excited to talk about my favorite read of 2022 in this behemoth of an omnibus, The Blackest Night by Geoff Johns. This is the culmination of what he started in the Green Lantern, which is a character that I never really cared about until I read his run. I read the first two omnibus, I could not get enough of it, and this all leads into the massive 1,600-page crossover event, The Blackest Night. So Blackest Night deals with the Black Lanterns, and just like the Green Lantern Corps, they have power rings that seek out hosts. The catch is that the hosts are corpses, so any character that's dead, whether it be a hero or a villain, could theoretically come back as a Black Lantern and wage this all-out war against not just Hal Jordan, not just the Green Lantern Corps, but the Justice League, Teen Titans. It feels like almost every character from DC showed up here, and it introduced me to characters that I had never seen, but because they had such a good tie-in, I wanted to read more about them. Geoff Johns did a great job with this cohesive storyline here, and the other creators. You're getting beautiful artwork from Ethan Van Sciver, Ivan Reyes, Doug Mankey. This is what every big event crossover should strive to be. So thanks again, Omar. I'm looking forward to seeing what everybody else's favorite reads of 2022 were. And now for the outro, which is going to be a little bit weird and awkward for some of you that don't know me, but you've all been bearded in. Beardage!
Hey Minties, it's me, Wonder Maddie. So Omar asked me to choose my favorite pick of the year, and that is pretty difficult because I read a lot of really great things. But if I had to choose one, it would be Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King and Bilquis Evely. Yes, I am saying that correctly. I listened to a video saying her name several times. So as many of you know, I have a sordid past with Tom King. I love a lot of his books, but he also killed my husband, Ray Harper. So, love-hate relationship, but also a love-respect relationship. And Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow really just blew it out of the water for me. I'm a huge sci-fi fan, and to see Supergirl by herself, she basically she turns 21 and decides to have a real 21st birthday party, and she travels to a far-off planet where she can, far away from the sun, where she can actually drink. And gets into this sort of series of mishaps. And Evely's art is beautiful, phenomenal, fantastic. They give us a vintage-looking Supergirl in space, and it reminds me a lot of older sci-fi fantasy movies. And definitely recommend. Please pick it up. You will not regret it. It is so worth it. Happy holidays.
My name is Ben, and this is Lohi. We're from the Cupcake Collectible channel, and today we like to talk about our pick for our favorite series of the year. Lohi, why don't you start off?
Sure. Hi, guys. So my pick of the year is basically a book called Ghost Cage. So there are 3 books in the series, and it's collected in a trade paperback. This book is by Nick Dragotta, and it's by Image Comics, and it's available everywhere. So this is a book about this old dude who controls like the energy, the electricity of this entire city, and how he manipulates them, how he threatens them, and about this little android who tries to, take his monsters down and try to fight him. And it's a brilliant story. It's very beautiful. It's got capitalism. It's got climate change. It's got themes like kaiju fighting. It's got bombastic action, complete energy. And yeah, sometimes you don't need like 75 books. 3 books are all, man, to tell a good story. And it's brilliant. If you're into deep dark sci-fi, this is totally for you. So do check out Ghost Cage. You will not regret it. And that's Omar and everybody, my pick of the year. Thank you. Ben, over to you.
All right, so I actually have 2. I have one limited series of the year and one ongoing series of the year. So I'll start with the limited series of the year. This is A Billion Genies from Image Comics. It's written by Charles Soule, art by Ryan Braun. Now, it's a tale of where genies showed up and give everybody in the world one wish. So the story tell us how the world become after people make their wishes. Some good, some bad. Some with disastrous values, some selfish, some for the good of mankind. And I thought the world building for this tale is brilliant, and I love all the characters involved in there. and I know that Amazon actually has optioned this comic series to become an upcoming series. Now that I'm very excited about that because I love this series so much. I cannot wait until I see it on my big screen or small screen because streaming. Anyways, yeah, this is my limited series of the year. It's excellent. So for my ongoing series of the year, this is Batman Superman World's Finest from DC Comics. It's written by Mark Waid, art by Dan Mora. Now, Mark Waid, of course, he's rather a historian when it comes to DC Comics. That's why he's able to write this series so well, because with the history and knowledge of all these characters, he's able to put it brilliantly in this series. And of course, Dan Mora, one of the best artists in the industry today, really makes this that perfect combination of artist and writer. So these two books are my favorite two series of the year, and I highly recommend it. And if you read this already, let me know why you like it as well. And if you haven't, please listen to me and give these two books a shot. Okay, that's it. Omar and your followers, thank you for your time, and have a great holiday.
Absolutely, guys. Happy holidays. And yeah, you can check us out more of this stuff on Cupcakes Comic Reviews. So yeah, we have a Facebook group too. So yeah, follow us there. And yeah, and stay happy and healthy. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, everybody. What's up? Gabe here from OmnibrosLive. Gabe Loves 90s Comics on Instagram. And I'm going to talk to you guys about the best comic that I've read this year. Jonah Hex. Okay, Jonah Hex is the best comic book that I've read this year. But this is all really going to be about one particular issue in this volume of all these volumes. Best comic book I've read is in this completely unknown, underappreciated, overlooked comic book series. Let's take a look at it. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the best book that I've read this year. So this is Jonah Hex Counting Corpses. This is the trade paperback. The issue in here that is so important and is the best thing ever is issue 50. Issue 50 of Jonah Hex. Right off the bat, the art is done by Darwin Cook, the late, great, amazing, left too early Darwin Cook. So that in itself is major points. But this is a fantastic issue that is completely different for something you would think of when you think about Jonah Hex and cowboy comics and stuff like that. This is mainly a story about good old Tallulah Black, who's a female character that we met earlier in the series, who is shot in the eye when her whole family is murdered by a group of outlaws to take their land. She survives it and lives a life that is harsh and is crazy and becomes a whore and things of the sorts like that. But throughout her time in the comic where she appears off and on, she runs across Jonah Hex here and there. They cross paths. Jonah Hex teaches her how to be a bounty hunter and take out her vengeance on the people that killed her family. But no good deed goes undone, right? So that's why her face is all chopped up and slashed and things like that. She did get captured at one point. They did slice her face apart. They sliced all of her woman goody parts up as well. So in this book, after she's done with her bounty hunting, she wants to just live a quiet life by herself. She's kind of putting up her irons and bought a plot of land and building a new house, all that kind of great fun stuff all alone. Turns out though, she is prego. Who's the baby daddy? Well, your guess is as good as mine, but we'll talk about that. But throughout this book, she's continually having troubles living in the town and trying to stay away from trouble. Trouble just seems to find her. She does give birth to her baby in the middle of a gunfight, and the baby is stolen by this really overzealous religious old lady who thinks the baby is the baby of the devil. So the baby's taken from her. The only thing that she knows what to do is to ask for help from Jonah Hex to find her baby and the person that took it. Well, eventually that happens. Jonah Hex finds the person who stole the baby, and the story goes that when she escaped with the baby and she was on the train, the baby was dead. They don't mention if it was like a stillborn or if it was like a SID situation. Whatever the case is, the baby died. And Jonah Hex you realize it's Jonah Hex's kid. Spoilers. It's Jonah Hex's baby. Jonah Hex takes out the vengeance. And at the end here, you see the most emotional part here. Jonah Hex quietly delivers a baby coffin back to Tallulah. Ugh, I'm going to cry just thinking about it again. But check that out. Issue 50 of Jonah Hex. Have a great day, everybody.
Oof. Hey Omar, happy holidays and happy New Year's. Amazing what you're doing here with collaborating all of these YouTubers, all these great YouTubers, and showing their favorite reads. I was really digging into this about what I've really read this year, because I document everything that I both read, watch, and yeah, that's it. I document what I read and watch. Going through the year that has been, I went back into a run that really should have been finished being read years ago, but it was only this year that this final run was completed within the deluxe-sized hardcover editions that I prefer. And jumping straight to it, the best series that I've read this year was definitely the Batman Rebirth run by Tom King. I know this is a controversial topic, but what I really loved about this run is the way that Tom King humanizes Batman and Bruce Wayne. Normally what you find attractive with the superhero genre and everything would be the fantastical things that they all can do, but what I really like is when they humanize them and make them more relatable than ever. And of course with Batman that's easier because no superpowers and everything, still one of the top tier in Justice League. And yeah, I don't know, it's something about these Bruce Wayne Selina Kyle relationship and everything, and the internal monologue is as great as ever. To complement with the Tom King Batman run, you should also read The Button, I would say. The crossover between the Batman and the Flash. Really important for this run. Thanks again, Omar, for inviting me to do this. I'm gonna have to go back to doing my own stuff now, and probably one day return to YouTube, and until then you can have my backlog with all my videos on my collections, room tours, Comic-Con events, and videos about minimalism and collecting. So there's that. Thanks everyone for watching. Oh, there's Instagram also, Joakimcomicscenter. See you everyone. Bye bye.
Hey everybody, J-Man here, and I want to thank Omar and everyone at Near Mint Condition for giving me the opportunity to talk about my favorite comic release of this year, 2022. You guys have an amazing channel. I've been with you, I think, from day one. I've known you guys a long time. Omar, we met up maybe, I want to say 10 years ago. I don't know. It's crazy to think that it's been that long, but I'm not sure. I think you were there from when I started my channel, like early on. But thank you again for letting me talk about my favorite release of 2022, which is Fantastic Four Full Circle by Alex Ross. Do I even need to say any more? No, but I will say some more anyways. I did review this in depth on my channel, but it has stuck with me since this came out. Obviously the art, I mean, like, this is crazy. Like, look, it's just so amazing. It's a total tribute to Jack and Stan's amazing work with the Fantastic Four. There's a lot of little Easter eggs in here. It is a very, very kind of like one-shot simple story, but it's a lot of fun. Oh my God, like, I mean, the art is crazy. It's a great tribute to Jack. I mean, this is, the Fantastic Four are the most important Marvel team of all time, really. Everything sprang from Fantastic Four, and I think this pays tribute to it just amazingly. So definitely, guys, this is my favorite of the year. Check it out. And that is it. If you enjoy my kind of style of content, I'm at JMan77 on YouTube. That is it, guys. All right, thank you so much. Until next time.
Hi, I'm Adjectiveless Alicia from Near Mint Condition, and this is my read of the year. It's Mighty Marvel Masterworks, Doctor Strange Volume 1. And it's published by Marvel Comics, and it's written by Stan Lee, and the art is by Steve Ditko. The reason why I like it so much is because it's not like other superhero stories where it's like this guy in a costume and he's just fighting. He has magic powers, and yeah. My favorite story in here is the one about the wax museum. I like it because it's like, I guess, like easier to read, not it's really, like the words are really short, I guess. And my favorite villain is Nightmare, because he goes into people's streets, so I think that's pretty cool. I recommend this for people of all ages, because, yeah.
Hi, this is Ian from Circuit 42, the podcast and YouTube channel, and of course social media page on Facebook and Instagram. And I am here to present my best graphic novels, best collected editions of 2022. This is something I've actually been looking for quite a while, or at least trying to find a good price on it. It came from a video from Omar's channel, Near Mint Condition, on the Street Fighter hardcover series from Udon. Recently, I was able to pick up the first 3 volumes of the series. Volume 2. And Volume 3. I grew up on Street Fighter, playing the video games, of course, like everybody else. And I briefly had read some of the comics in the early 2000s, but when I started going to college, like many, I had stopped reading comics at the time. I read the issues digitally on Comixology. Yes, Omar, I know you hate digital comics, but it made me want to pick up the hardcovers. And recently I found these through Half Price Books, and I'm like, you know what? I think it's a good time to read this. So I picked up the first 3 volumes. The stories are not amazing, but none of the stories from the Street Fighter, the games, the anime, etc. are amazing. But it really is worth it for the artwork. And I know when I saw the video on Near Mint Condition, that was one of the big things that was pushed on it. And a lot of people in general are like, that story's not great, but the artwork is fantastic. But for me, they're just fun. And that's why this is the best read and my favorite read of 2022. Thank you so much for making me a part of this, and have a wonderful day. And make sure to listen to Circuit 42 on Spotify and iTunes, and check out our archive on YouTube.
Hey Minties, Amazing Amanda here. You may remember me from Reels Talk with Uncanny Omar, where we talk about comic book movies and TV shows, and sometimes I appear also on Old Reader, New Reader. And today I'm here to tell you about my favorite read of 2022. So the book that I chose for 2022 was Nightwing by Tom Taylor with art by Bruno Redondo. So I love this book as a longtime fan of Dick Grayson, not just for his body parts, but also because I love his story. And I think Tom Taylor did a really good job of bringing us back to basics with this Dick Grayson story and bringing back some of our old favorites from the Bat family. He does a really good job of being able to just blend in heart and humor and also more serious subject matters as well into the book. And again, Bruno Redondo's art is beautiful in this. He does a great job with the splash pages, and overall just really enjoyed the direction of the story with the family twists and turns, and looking forward to reading Volume 2 and Volume 3 once I am able to get my hands on both of those. So with that, that is my favorite read of 2022. Thank you guys so much for watching. Good journey, everyone.
Hey all you minties and mutant lovers out there, it's D-Rock from drocksteadyreviews. I have a YouTube channel where we do omnibus hauls and reviews and overviews. I put these videos out weekly. They're kind of more simple for newcomers to this hobby, so if that interests you, definitely check out my channel. Uncanny Omar came to me and he asked me if I wanted to be involved in this content creator favorite read of 2022, and of course I wanted to be involved in this. For my read of 2022, it's gotta be The Ven Omnibus by Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman. I didn't get the oversized hardcovers. I didn't read it in singles. I knew this thing was going to come down the pipe eventually, and it finally did. And man, was it great. And Marvel, shout out to you for the mapping in this book. My God, it is just perfect. This is definitely my read of the year. So many good books to choose from, but this tops it for sure. Love the relationship with Eddie Brock and the symbiote in this. I love the introduction of Dylan Brock. You get Null coming, the Absolute Carnage storyline, and it's all leading up to the huge King in Black with symbiote dragons and all kinds of madness. Won't get into any spoilers in this video, but man, if you're a fan of anything related to Venom, you have to check out the Donny Cates run of Venom, and it's collected in this great Ven Omnibus, man. $125 cover price. This is a must-have for any omnibus collector for sure. Big shout out to Uncanny Omar for having me involved in this best read of 2022 content creator video. Shout out to all you YouTubers out there making great content this year. It was a great year for comics. We had a ton of new stuff, ton of new people popping up on the scene, making content on YouTube and other social media platforms. Very, very good year. Can't wait for 2023. We got a lot of new releases coming that I'm excited about. Happy holidays and happy collecting.
Ironically, I use that in my show all the time. My name's Wallace Ryan from the YouTube show In the Library of Graphic Literature, and I'm here to talk about my favorite book of 2022. Can be one of 2022 or one that I've been reading in 2022. And so I took a split decision on this. I chose Volume 2 of The Absolute Fourth World from DC Comics. This is gorgeous for anyone who's not familiar with the Fourth World. It involves Jimmy Olsen, New Gods, Forever People, and Mr. Miracle. Great series, one of my favorite all time. I think one of the best superhero stories of all time. Of course, it's by Kirby and all that. Volume 2, this came out early this year. I love the whole thing. I would almost actually have picked, which I'll show you in a second too, the Fourth World Omnibus that has the entire thing. But I picked this over that because of the pure size of it. The Absolute Edition of the Fourth World is an edition fit for the king. I mean, look at these. Look at the size of these pages, for God's sake. All right? So you're getting to see Kirby action big, which is the way it really should be, right? And of course, this has a lot of great stuff in it. But even more than this one, if I could love anything more, would be Volume 1 of it. So I really consider that a two-book set. Let's just think of it that way. This one I love just because it has all the origin stories. It's the start of a whole new world for Kirby and for DC. I believe the Fourth World is really set down a firm universe in the background that really has become the DC universe in the wider, cosmic, grander sense. And this is where it all began. I mean, characters like Granny Goodness, New Gods, Orion, Morgan Edge, Desaad, Darkseid, one of the greatest villains of them all. But yeah, and the best Jimmy Olsen ever done. So yes, that is my choice for my book of 2022. Looking forward to next year. Hoping there's going to be a lot more books around, including my own that I'm doing with a friend of mine. But anyway, yeah, check me out in the Library of Graphic Literature or Thursday Comics with my buddy Dennis Osborne, where we podcast for a more adult audience. That being said, Everyone have a great holiday. Hey, love y'all. Oh, and stay comics positive. Remember, that's the other thing. Next year, swear that you're only going to talk about comics you love. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Hey guys, Gio here from A Week in Geekdom, a channel all about anime and manga. Thank you to Near Mint Condition for allowing me to participate and let you guys know what was my favorite read of 2022. Now, technically, this book did not come out this year, but I read it for the first time and loved it and wanted to geek out over it with you guys. And for that, I picked from Kotoyama, Call of the Night, Volume 1. This is published by Viz Media. This follows the story of Ko Yamori, a teen that has the case of wanderlust, if you will, the suffering from the woes of adolescence as he's trying to find out who he is and what his goal really is in life. He starts skipping out on school, he starts abandoning his former friends and all that, and ventures out into the night. On one fateful night, in the city, he finds the vampire Nazuna, and he is immediately starstruck by her. Nazuna's a bit of a wild child herself, and all she wants to do is drink beer, play video games, and suck on some blood. Turns out Ko's blood is extremely delicious to her, so she befriends Ko, and the two form this wholesome, weird relationship as they spend most nights playing video games and just talking and walking around the city and looking at all the drunk people and all that stuff. And we find out immediately after that in order to turn into a vampire, it's not as simple as being bitten by one. You actually have to fall in love with said vampire. Ko Yamori has this realization that he wants to become a vampire and live in the night and free himself from the shackles of society. So in order to do that, now he has to try and fall in love with Nazuna that could care less about all that lovey-dovey stuff and just wants to have a fun time every night. So aside from the plot and characters, one of my favorite things about this series is the art. I love the character designs. They are a mix of stylized artwork with cartoonish elements. I love the backdrops, that it's a city at night, so that aspect is really cool. I love the usage of shadows. It's a vampire story, but it's not as threatening or menacing or sensual as you might think. It's actually pretty fun and exciting as you experience a different type of vampire tale through the eyes of a teenager that doesn't really have all the answers. That's part of the reason I like Call of the Night so much. Anyways, go check out Call of the Night if it interests you. I had a fun time reading it, and I hope you guys check it out as well.
Hello, my name is Chris from OffMyShelves, and thank you very much for Near Mint Condition for inviting me on to talk about my favourite read of 2022. There was a few that I could have gone through. Berlin was one of the ones that really stood out to me that I read for the first time this year. This was a fantastic look at Berlin pre-Nazism, when Nazism was coming in, and it focuses on like fictional characters making up this whole amazing world of 1930s Berlin, but that blew me away. Attack on Titan absolutely kept me enthralled and on the edge of my seat. Every single volume and every single page. I adored this action-packed, just wonderful journey for Attack on Titan, and one of my favourites definitely. Ultrasound was another one by Connor Stetschalt, which it's sci-fi kind of craziness and thriller-like qualities, was just astounding, and again I loved it, but I had to go with one that really hit on every emotional note that I have, and that was Showa by Sergei Mizuki, A History of Japan. This book actually comes in 4 volumes in total, and it charts the real-life non-fiction story of Japan going through the Showa era, which goes from 1926 up to 1989. What makes it so special is that it charts this history of this astounding country through its military exploits, through poverty, through empires and prime ministers, but it also shows you the era through the eyes and through the experiences of the author and artist themselves. And he is such an amazingly kind of naive and innocent and complex and weird and wonderful guy that when you find out all these stories about Japan and then it's intermingled with his personal life story, it just was wonderful for me. I could not put it down, and I have never laughed at a book so much. Predictably, there's lots of, you know, immature jokes and lots of stupidity on Mizuki's part, which made me laugh out loud in places, to be fair. I have never cried at so many different points as well, again, because I felt so much for the character of Mizuki and his family and people he was close to. And generally, I'd never felt so educated about a country that I know so little about as well, Japan. These ones are newly printed by Drone and Quarterly. They well worth a read. And that was my favourite pick for 2022. Thank you very much for having me.
What's going on, mentees? I'm BJ Kicks from the BJ Kicks YouTube channel and comicsaredope.com, and I am honored to help share one of my favorite books that I read this year. And this was actually a hard decision. When Omar asked, I was like, I don't know. Should I pick a hardcover? Should I pick like a regular just graphic novel, straight up story? Or should I pick something that's still ongoing that you can jump into? And I decided, you know what? I'm going to jump on this little known series that I bet you're not reading, and it is called Monkey Prince. Now, Monkey Prince is written by Jean Lin Yang with art by Bernard Chang, and it's just a really, really funny book. So this is a single issue limited series. It's going up to 12, and we're at issue 9 as of this recording. And this series follows this kid named Marcus, who basically finds out that he's got the powers of the Monkey King. Now, I'm not super, well versed in Chinese or Eastern cultures, but the Monkey King's apparently a pretty popular character there. And he's like a trickster type character. He's really funny. And basically this kid, Marcus, is learning from his sort of pig sensei. His sensei is like a magic pig. And it's a coming of age story. This kid's in high school. He's a sneakerhead. He gets robbed for his pair of Jordan 3s, and he's just kind of a punk. But once he finds that he's got these powers, and he finds that basically when he turns into the Monkey Prince, he's way more confident. He's way more arrogant. And it gets him into some trouble. Now, what's interesting about this character or Marcus is that he doesn't know this, but in real life, his parents are like henchmen for hire. They're scientists that all these different evil villains hire to do various jobs. So in one instance, they're working for Black Manta. In another instance, they're working for the Penguin. And so Marcus is basically like an army brat hopping around the DC universe while his parents are working for these villains. Meanwhile, he's got to use his powers in many ways to stop these villains, or his parents that he really doesn't know are villains. But also, he's got to protect his family, his parents, from both the villains and the heroes that come to stop them. So this series pits him up against Batman, Aquaman, Superman, and it's just a lot of fun because, again, when this dude is in the Monkey King costume or Monkey Prince costume, he gives no Fs. He is he's all about it. He's not pulling any punches. He doesn't care. He's irreverent. And I like this series. I wanted to spotlight this because, yeah, it's still got superheroes. Yeah, it's still got Batman and Damian Wayne. And you're kind of traveling through the DC universe, but it's so lighthearted. You don't have to read, decades of continuity to understand what's happening. And it's just a really fun book. So with that, I hope you guys check it out. Volume 1 is already out in hardcover. It's going to be 2 volumes to complete the set. Or I'm sure if you wait like a year down the line, there might be a deluxe. But if not, just go to your local comic shop, see if they got these issues still in stock. And that's going to do it for me. I hope you guys are enjoying your holiday season and you grab books that you love. Until next time, peace.
Welcome, true believers. I'm the Bad Wolf, host of Bad Wolf Comics. And before I give you my favorite reading of 2022, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Bad Wolf Comics. I started this channel just 6 months ago this last summer. I do one haul video every month. Out of every monthly haul video, I take one book and do an overview for organic price books. I also do overviews of books that I've read, but what really makes Bad Wolf Comics special is our customs. Here at Bad Wolf Comics, you'll find many videos on custom dust jackets, sets that we've done, individual books that we've done. When Marvel likes to change the font, we need to fix it. The other thing we do is we do a lot of custom omnibus books. I felt that custom content was lacking in the community, so I wanted to bring that out to everyone. My favorite reading for 2022 couldn't be summed up in a single book. It was actually an entire series of books. I was actually introduced to this series of books through a TV show that came on, and it didn't look like it was for me. It didn't look like anything I'd like, but friends of mine and other YouTubers definitely encouraged me to go ahead and check it out, and I gotta tell you, I was hooked on the first episode. Bad Wolf Comics' favorite reads of 2022 is the Invincible series. When I was introduced to this, like I said, it didn't look like something I'd be interested in, but it's written by Robert Kirkman. The art is great. It's a very adult-oriented book for all the violence that's in it. It's a coming-of-age story of family and friends, intergalactic warfare. What more could you want? I highly recommend this series to anyone who hasn't read it yet. This is definitely my favorite reads for 2022. This particular set of dust jackets is a custom set. My good friend Roy made these. He made a couple different color variants of these, and this is the Bad Wolf Comics variant for this set of dust jackets. I'd like to take a moment and thank Omar. I'm both humbled and honored to be invited to this event and part of this great community. But stick around, true believers. There's plenty more content creators with their favorite reads of 2022 to come. With that said, I am the Bad Wolf. This is Bad Wolf Comics. Thanks for watching.
Hello, it's Taylor from TaylorTalksComics, and I'm also the social media guy for Near Mint Condition. So if you've ever interacted with us on social media, I'm the guy you're talking to. I'm so glad to have been included in this project, and I love the distinction that this is just your favorite reads of the year and not just books that came out this year, because I read a lot of old comics. And my pick for the year, though, my ultimate favorite read is Justice League International, Omnibus Volume 1. I was reading this at a time when I was feeling kind of down and also had some reader block where I didn't know what to read next, so I just picked this up and finally got to it and finally read it, and it was just amazing. These characters, you really fall in love with them. This is known as like the comedic era of Justice League, but if you haven't read this, don't be too hung up on that. It is humorous for sure, but you really get a feeling for who these characters are and you get attached to them. There's a lot of C and D list superheroes, which I always love. But the team on this book did such an amazing job just working together. Like, you can obviously see on paper that this would be like a too many cooks in the kitchen type deal, but not. These guys worked it out perfectly. So you have Keith Giffen doing the plotting and the layouts, and him doing the plotting and layouts really allowed for freedom for Kevin Maguire, the penciler, predominantly the penciler, there's other pencilers in here, to focus in on the like facial expressions and really showing the emotional beats and poses and those kinds of things of the heroes. You can see some of his work right there with facial expressions. Everyone has a personality you can see right in their face. And then you have J.M. DeMatteis doing the scripting. So he just had to go over and just fill in the bubbles, the word balloons, and it really added a whole nother dynamic of the characters, and a lot of the jokes and humorous and then the emotional aspects of it get touched on there. So this book hit me right at the right time where I needed a book like this, and I highly recommend it. It's so much fun. It's obvious too that when you read this, you can see the influences it's had on contemporaries like Tom King and his artists that he likes to work with, Mitch Gerrard's Clayman. And then you also have guys like Mark Russell. I feel like he was really influenced on this. And this came out during a time when the deconstructionist superhero book was the popular thing with Watchmen and Dark Knight. This came out at the same time, but it was almost like a reconstructionist of the superhero, kind of really rebuilding what the superhero is from the ground up. So, and I really love that about it as well. Highly recommend this though. But thanks for having me on, Omar. I really appreciate it. And looking forward to 2023 of interacting with everybody else on the Near Mint Condition social media.
Hello, my name is Ødfel, and I am a cosplayer as well as a occasional guest on this channel, whether it be Matt My Ex talking about Disney Plus shows or sometimes just talking about comics. And today I'm going to be telling you guys what my favorite, which, shocker, I couldn't make a decision, so don't tell Omar, but I'm giving you my two favorites, comics that I read this year were. And I'm very, very excited to talk about both of them because they're both indie releases and I couldn't decide, so I'm just going to give them both a little bit of a shout out, although I don't know if you can consider Image indie anymore. So the first one I want to talk about is Seven Secrets. It is a Tom King book that came out with Boom Publishing Studios, and if you're reading or watching Spy Family, it's kind of in a similar type of genre. Lots of family as a theme, as well as hijinks and espionage that you don't want to miss. Frankly, I want to talk about this a lot more, but the less you know about it, the better. The art is absolutely beautiful, and I cannot suggest checking this out enough. But again, the less you know, the better, so try to avoid some spoilers when looking into this. So the second book I want to briefly talk about is probably unsurprising if you've heard me talk comics before, because I take every single chance I get to glow about this book, and that is Adventure Man. It's an Image comic written by Matt Fraction with beautiful art by Terry Dodson, and really it checks off every niche box I could ask for. If you like adventure series like The Mummy or Indiana Jones or even Tomb Raider, or secret society stuff like Hellboy or League of Extraordinary Gentlemen or Lemony Snicket, then this will also check off a ton of boxes for you. Anachronistic 1940s steampunk setting, beautiful, beautiful design for everything. The story is really good with mystery and suspense, and the main protagonist is a deaf woman, so that's a very interesting dynamic that I think they flesh out and really discover well, which, if you remember, Matt Fraction has written deaf characters before rather well. So it's a really good book, and it's on hiatus right now, so you have time to catch up, and I cannot suggest this more. And with that, I have already rambled on far too long, so make sure to check out Adventure Man and Seven Secrets. I think they're both very, very good character pieces with immaculate storytelling, and you definitely won't be disappointed. So please go check those out. If you want to find more of my work, I mostly do cosplay, but I am on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Patreon, all of the above as Ødfel. I'm on Twitter with a 0. Everything else should be an O for Ødfel. Thank you so much for listening to me ramble, and on with the video.
Everybody, my name is Paperback, and first things first, I just want to say a huge shout out to Omar. What he's doing here is really awesome, and I personally really appreciate it. So thank you. I hope that it's a huge success for everyone involved. So one of the goals of my channel is to kind of help shine some light on some books, you know, put people onto things that they might not have heard of otherwise. I already do that amongst my friends, and I personally, I love doing that. I love putting people onto new things, expanding horizons, all that sort of stuff. And one thing that I've grown fond of recently is independent books from Kickstarter, crowdfunded stuff, things like that. And I think it's really fitting that my favorite book of the year is something that I got from Kickstarter from a publisher called Lesser Known Comics. And it's Tank McGregor and the Mechanical Menace. Say if you want to get a look, our boy Tank right there. He's a bounty hunter, and he's tasked with hunting down this robot. Tank is kind of good at his job, but it's also in spite of himself because he's a bit of a goofball. And the reason he's hunting down that robot is because it thinks that it's a human, and then has started going on a murderous rampage and needs to be stopped. Chaos and mystery ensue from there. Personally, that's enough to sell me. But then on top of that, I really like the art. You know, it looks simple, but in a good way that I personally appreciate. And the art style in combination with the humor of the book, which I did find to be funny, reminds me of an Adult Swim cartoon, but not the annoying kind. So I mean, if that sounds like your cup of tea, I would drink it. I'd be remiss to mention that, one, you can find the book digitally and physically on Lesser Known Comics website, but also the quality and of this printed edition is amazing. Better than any of the books you see behind me, anything you can get from IST or your local comic shop or anything like that. So shout out to them. So yeah, quick recap. Tank McGregor and the Mechanical Menace, best thing I've read all year. I am Paperback Dan, and I will see you guys later.
Hi, I'm Thorsten, and my book of the year 2022 is The Many Deaths of Layla Starr. Ram V creates this genre-bending story about life and death, and Philippe Andrade's colorful and playful art contribute perfectly and provide a counterbalance to this otherwise heavy topic. The title, The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, is somewhat misleading because it's actually not Layla we're following around. It is the Hindu goddess of death, Kali, that is sent to Earth to live a mortal life. She hijacks Layla's dead body and goes through the journey of what is mortal life. But as I said, this book is more than that. It's genre bending. If you follow Kali's story, it's more fantasy story. If you decide to go with any of the other characters, like Darius, he plays a huge role in this. He is immortal that throughout this book works on his death, his coping with death. And if you focus on his perspective, this might be magical realism. If you look at Pranam in this, you come up with a complete different genre. I don't want to spoil for you, so I'll let you figure that out yourself. But definitely read the book more than one time. There are so many things in here that you'll discover. As I said, different perspectives gives you different genres, different takes, which is why this book is amazing and the best read of 2022 for me, maybe even of this decade. So, yeah, as I said, Darius and Prana, I don't want to spoil the book, but those two are key to answering the question that this book raises, which is, if you could choose, would you want to be immortal? And this book has a clear answer, very, very clear answer to this, in my opinion. And funny enough, when I interviewed Ram V and Philippe Andrade over on my channel, they both gave me the opposite answer to that question, which such is life, right? Full of contradictions. But if you're interested in it, pick it up. Or in March, there's going to be a hardcover published if you want to wait that long. Or upgrade. I'll definitely upgrade to the hardcover. After you read the story, please head over to my channel and watch me interviewing Ram V and Philippe Andrade. And yeah, my read of 2022, The Many Deaths of Layla Starr. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Hey everybody, I'm Sean Robinson.
I'm Carson Grubaugh.
And we are Living the Line.
Omar, thank you so much for doing this. I think it's great that someone who has such a huge spotlight on their channel is turning that spotlight onto smaller channels within the YouTube's comic community. We really appreciate it. Don, can you tell us a bit about Living the Line?
It's informed a lot by our perspectives, respective perspectives. Carson is the co-artist and co-author of The Strange Death of Alex Raymond, Eisner nominated last year. I am the publisher of that book, and I do pre-press and design, and I'm also an illustrator.
Omar wants to know what our favorite book of the year is. So what's your favorite book of the year?
Dave McKean's Prompt, and we had a very long 2.5-hour discussion with Dave McKean on the future of art making and AI. And Carson has a series, The Abolition of Man, which is, as far as we know, the first series completely illustrated by AI. And Dave's book also talks to a lot of those kinds of issues and concerns, and it is an amazing conversation that we had with him, but it's also really an amazing book. So do you have a favorite book this year, Carson?
If I have to whittle it down to the best book of 2022, I would say Veronica Mukic's Cyberman. I'm going to cheat a little bit and recommend another book that I read in 2022 that was released in 2021, but the author of this book, Gareth Brooks, did a review of Cyberman with me because you were sick or traveling or something. So if you're interested in why I like Cyberman so much, please go watch the review we did with Gareth Brooks, and then go check out Gareth Brooks's work too, because I think both of these artists are doing phenomenal things that are pushing comics into the future.
Well, speaking of phenomenal things that are pushing comics into the future, thank you very much, Omar, for this spot in getting to share some books with you guys.
All right, thanks for having us. Really appreciate it, Omar.
And at this moment, I just want to remind you all watching, if you're interested in some of these books, check out our sponsor. If you live in Europe and are interested in buying and pre-ordering Omnis, then you should definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices for Marvel and DC books within the EU, flat rate shipping of €12 for all EU countries, bulletproof packaging, and all emails will be answered within 24 hours. They offer a huge selection of out-of-print books. Just head over to waltzcomicshop.com for more great deals and rare titles. And for a limited time, you can use the code NEARMINTCONDITION, all one word at the checkout, to get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order of over €40. Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for Omnis and premium collected editions in Europe.
Hi everyone, my name is Anshuman from the channel For the Love of Comics, and I am thrilled and excited and honored and flattered to be part of this celebration. Thank you so much, Near Mint Condition. And as soon as I got thrilled and excited and honored and flattered, panic set in because I was asked to choose one favorite comics read from the year. And anyone who knows me or my channel knows that I am terrible at ranking comics. In fact, I used to get so tied up in knots whenever people asked me what my favorite comic was or what my top 5 favorite comics were that I started a YouTube channel so I could just talk about all my favorite comics. And that's what I hope to do for the foreseeable future. But for this video, I did have to select one, so I'm going with my most recent read, probably my last big comics read of the year. And as it happens, this is a book that was published in 2022, which I would say most of my favorite reads of a year aren't books published in that year because I'm always catching up on great reads from before. But this is from 2022, and it is Ducks. 2 Years in the Oil Sands, written and drawn by Kate Beaton and published by Drawn and Quarterly. This is the autobiographical story of author Kate Beaton immediately after college going and working in the oil sands of Alberta, Canada. She did this to pay off her student loans as soon as possible, but this book gets into a lot of detail about the nature of work and economy in Canada, which is something that I really didn't know much about. And then it gives you the life in the oil sands itself, in these camps and setups that seem almost like a prison, using simple but expressive art and layouts and some very well observed and honest writing. This is an often stark and harrowing tale that nevertheless doesn't pass any easy judgments. A complex read done in a deceptively simple style. Ducks is very fresh in my mind right now, of course, because I just read it recently, but I have no doubt that I'm going to be thinking about this book a long time from now as well. So there it is, one of my favorite comics reads of the year, Ducks by Kate Beaton.
This is Dominic with the Comic Book Report. I'm honored to have been asked what was my favorite read that I got a chance to read in 2022. My favorite comic read, after a lot of deliberation, has to be the Jonathan Hickman Fantastic Four run. Now, obviously, Jonathan Hickman wrote this some time ago. These omnibuses have even been released before, but this year they went ahead and did the reprint for these omnibuses, and I was so ecstatic because I finally had a chance to pick up these issues for myself and read them. For fans of just high-flying science fiction superheroic adventure, I don't really know of a better recommendation I could give than Fantastic Four by Jonathan Hickman. A big thank you to Uncanny Omar and everyone at Near Mint Condition. Thank you for just being one of the best comic book channels out there. I know you actually inspired me to start my own channel. So thankful for all you guys do and for this opportunity. Thank you. Have a good one.
I'm Mars.
And I'm Jennifer.
And we're the dynamic duo behind Casually Comics, a comic book live show where we talk comics every week. We break down comic news. We bring you all the new releases for the week. And at the end of the day, we're just a couple of gals who love talking about the comics we love. And occasionally we talk about the comics that we don't love.
We here at Casually Comics, we really enjoy independent most of all. Marvel and DC has its place, but we're the ones reading indie comics all the time. So it's more than fitting that our book of the year is an indie comic, Bolero by Wyatt Kennedy and Luana Vecchio.
Bolero by Wyatt Kennedy and Luana Vecchio is a 5-issue miniseries from Image Comics. Following Devon, a young woman left ruined by heartache and self-loathing, Devon is presented with a key to the multiverse. Here, she can travel between versions of herself, from Victorian daydreams to the depths of space, and everything in between.
The catch is that Devon can't hop more than 53 times, nor can she return should she leave in the hopes of finding a universe better than the one before.
So I love Bolero because it is a story about the multiverse and about finding true love. However, if you dig a little bit deeper, you find out that it's actually a story about self-love. And at the end of the day, it's about loving yourself in every universe you could possibly find yourself in. And at the time of reading its final issue, it found me in a very personal space. And I think that's why I connect with Bolero a little bit more than most, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be reading it.
What resonated most with me is that even though our main protagonist, Devon, is a deeply flawed character, we know and we come to understand that even she and maybe ourselves are worthy of love.
There's a reason why Bolero is the book highly regarded among a sea of other books, and a reason why it's the book of the year for not just one, but both members of the Casually Comics crew.
But don't just take it from us. Check out Bolero and check us out every single week at Casually Comics, where we give you all the news, all the reviews, a little bit of violence, and all of the comics.
Bye!
Yo, what's up, everybody? It's J-Rock right here. You can follow me on YouTube under my channel, ComicSwag or MangaSwag. Or if you want to hook your boy up, go ahead and subscribe to both. So, what do I recommend for 2022? This book really stood out for me. It was probably my favorite book. It's called Princess Jellyfish. It was something a little bit outside of my wheelhouse. It's a comedy. It's basically about a bunch of girls that they collect, right? Be it dishes, statues, whatever. And they're a little socially awkward. And they meet this other girl that walks into the world and is into fashion, into hitting the clubs, bars, and so forth. And she starts teaching them, hey, the way you dress, the way you present yourself, it's important because in society, your initial first impression is you judge people by their appearance, right? So she teaches them wear makeup, wear dresses, and they get this newfound attention that they weren't used to now. And this girl that's teaching them about all this fashion, turns out it's a guy, it's a cross-dresser, and we get to dive into his world with his family. We think he's this happy-go-lucky girl, right? But he's a guy dealing with a lot of issues. His family is, more importantly, his father, strict man in Japan, very old school, does not approve of his lifestyle of cross-dressing. So we get to touch on some heavy subject matters, but it keeps them where it's not too dark and depressing, but at the same time, they are taken serious. Same with the girls. They get introduced to how they can adapt to, the outside world and so forth. Highly recommended. If I had to choose one book that I read in 2022, this would be it. Other than that, I'd like to thank Omar from Near Mint Condition for having me on the channel. And hope you guys check this book out. Give it a shot. Don't be scared to try something a little different.
Hello, as Omar likes to say, all you minties. I'm standing in my gallery, and I'm holding your sigil. Will you talk to me? This is Lars Pearson, the Norwegian assassin here, and I wanted to quickly highlight a book that's a favorite of mine from 2022, which is, of all things, we thought it would never arrive, Legion of Superheroes, 5 Years Later Omnibus, Volume 2. This is one of those books that you thought would never be made. It's a weird thing being a Legion of Superheroes fan in 2022. I love the team. I probably love it more than X-Men. But its heyday has kind of come and gone. I mean, it was the most popular in the 70s and the 80s, I would think. And 5 years later, this book not just brings 5 years later to a close, it also finishes off the original Legion of Superheroes story that ran for basically 36 years. Legion of Superheroes was the first Silver Age team in 1958, and it ran to 1994, by which point too many of the characters were dead or old or maimed, or Earth had blown up, and it was a lot. So they rebooted it. It was really, when Legion was good, it was really good. But these days I can barely keep a title afloat. DC barely publishes it. So this is one of those joyful things that I'm sure is only possible with the omnibus format. Only by virtue of the $150 price point did we get this collection, most of which has never been collected anywhere. And here it is. By God, here it is. There's not a lot more Legion stuff on the schedule. Hopefully they'll get to making more of it. But when this came out, it was a good day. It was a good day. Thank you for listening. Hope you have a good holiday, and we'll see you soon on YouTube.
What's going on, all you minties? I'm Mitch from the Omnibuddy channel over on YouTube and Instagram and all over the place. But Omar asked us for our favorite book of 2022, and I figured a lot of other channels were going to go with something Marvel or DC or even Image, and my channel tends to focus a lot on the independent scene, especially Magnetic Press. I love them. And one of my favorite books, actually I think it is for sure my favorite book that I read this year, was Matthew Bablett's Carbon and Silicon. Not only did this thing come in an insanely gorgeous slipcase with Shangri-La, which was also a great book, but Carbon and Silicon is a gorgeous book overall, inside and out. Storyline, art, publisher presentation, all of it. I mean, look at that foil. Let's get that in focus. But that foil on there is just insanely beautiful. And can't have any dented corners if you have rounded corners. That's what I always say. Anyways, oh, and the gilded pages. So hot. So I want to talk about this for 1 second. In Matthew Bablett's Carbon and Silicon, he explores what it is to be human, have a soul, and what it is to be artificial. And I think it's very timely, actually, with all this AI talk going on right now, in what makes something real. It is beautifully rendered in every single way. Not only does this follow the beginning and genesis of AI, but it follows pretty much the first two AIs created throughout all of time, their struggle and what they go through together and apart, and just being a part of the world around them. Bablett lays out a mastercraft not only in art, but what it truly is to explore what it is to be human, what it is to explore to have a soul, to have relationships, and to leave a meaningful mark on this world. If you are interested in high sci-fi and beautiful art and non-typical storytelling, I definitely say pick this up.
Hi, I'm Miss Lydia from New Condition, and my read of the year is Chainsaw Man. It's published by Viz and is $9.99 and is written by, and also the art is by Tatsuki Fujimoto. Now, I really like this book, just mostly because of the character designs. I think they're like drawn really well and they look interesting, especially Chainsaw Man himself. It's just really good designs. I really enjoy the story. I think it develops very well, and there's definitely like a lot of twists in there, so it keeps the reader intrigued and isn't just a boring story about some random guy that can turn into a chainsaw devil. And I would definitely recommend this for teens and up because there's a lot of foul language, violence, gore, and just in general adult content.
Hey guys, Professor Bell, Comic Book University, and my 2022 pick would probably have to be the Steve Rogers Captain America book that's out right now, but I'm only getting digital copies of those. As far as the actual physical copies of a comic book that I've gotten in the year 2022, would probably have to be 27 of Detective Comics, Facsimile, Relax. See this little guy right down there? But that's the thing. Realistically, any of these facsimile copies. I don't care if it's on the DC side or the Marvel side, and I want more, a lot more. I want Hawkman, Green Lantern, all of them. I want all of their first appearances. Boom, right here in a facsimile copy. These are, to me, some of the best things that comics have done in the past 5 years. That's probably really sad when you think about it, but all in all, I think it's a fantastic idea. It is nigh impossible to get these original issues of comic books nowadays. But with these, you can grab them, you can display them, you can open them and read them, you can have more than one. You can put silly putty on them for crying out loud and suddenly feel like, yay, because it's a fantastic thing. So honestly, I don't know how many people will agree or disagree. It's not what I'm here for. I'm here for my opinion. I love these facsimile copies, and I think this is the best thing that comics have done the entire year. And please, many more years of these. Heck, I'm even looking forward to NFL Super Pro issue number 1 in facsimile copy. Although it'd probably be cheaper to go to the dollar bin and get the original. That's it for me, guys. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Oh, wait, can't dismiss the class. There are probably more reviewers giving their picks.
Hi, my name is Chris Balga, and I want to take a moment just to thank Omar for letting me be a part of the best comic book read of 2022. You can follow me on Twitter at Chris Balga. I do have 2 shows, both of them podcasts. The first is World's Finest True Believers, and the concept behind the show is a guest comes on and selects a comic book arc or graphic novel from any publisher, and we do deep dive into the history of the creation of the comic book arc or graphic novel. The guest geeks out on their favorite moments, and we talk about the impact it's had on their lives. And you can find that drops the last Sunday of the month by searching for the Geek Ultimate Alliance on any podcatcher of choice, and you can follow the podcast on Twitter at Finest Believers. The other show I do is called Marvel Alliance, and it's a weekly show, and it goes live on Thursday nights at 9:10 Eastern Standard Time on the Geekverse Podcast Network on YouTube. And the audio you can find by following the Marvel Alliance or Geek Ultimate Alliance on any podcatcher of choice. And basically every week we break down everything going around Marvel, the MCU, streaming movie reviews, everything at that point. So again, you can follow that on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. And so my best read of 2022 is this book right here, Spider-Man Life Story by Chip Zdarsky and Mark Bagley. And the concept behind it is, what if Peter Parker aged in real time? And each book, it's a 6-issue series with an annual, and it goes through, each issue is a decade. So it starts with the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, the aughts, and the 2010s. And it is basically, you have familiar allies, familiar foes, but as they go through this life story, things change. Things happen in different ways than what we are used to in the normal quote-unquote canon. It tackles the major events that are placed in the appropriate decade: Secret War, the Alien Costume Saga, the Clone Saga, the Civil War, and even Moreland. And you wouldn't think that, we've already seen this before, but how Zdarsky does this and presents it, it kept me going. Like, I read this in very, very quickly, and I've probably read this book 4 or 5 times since then, and it broke my heart at times. It made me cheer. It made me tear up at the end, because it was the way it was done, the way it was told was such a touching and moving story, and with Mark Bagley's art, it just fits so well together, and it was such a great story, such a really cool way of retelling things that we are used to as Spider-Man fans in such a different way. So if you haven't done so already, check out Spider-Man Life Story. You will not regret it. But thank you all, and be talking to you real soon. Bye-bye.
Hey all you minties, it is Omnibo from Aussieverse, and I am here to talk to you about the latest edition of the Reckless series by Ed Brubaker, Follow Me Down. This is an amazing book. I loved it from start to finish. It is a very adult series, something that is very, very not of the superhero genre. If you are after something very, very realistic, very, very down to earth, very, very hardcore, and more in the tone of your dramatic, violent, sexual sort of books, then definitely pick this up. The storyline is amazing. It deals with a lot of subjects that are very close to home with a lot of people. It's very, very serious book, but also very, very entertaining. It is a book about, it's the 5th book in the series, about an individual that takes cases that are outside of the law, and the color palette by Sean Phillips and whoever else does this book is absolutely amazing. As you can see, it has a lot of blues, greens, very, very down-to-earth sort of storyline. It also does not end in a way that you would expect. Lots of twists, lots of drama, lots of absolute shocks. So if you are after a comic book that has nothing to do with superheroes, it is like watching an episode of Law and Order or something along those lines. I highly suggest picking up Reckless book. This series has been the goldmine of my year, and I really am really grateful that I would discovered it. Thank you very much for hearing me out, and everybody, stay minty.
Hey, this is Kristen from the Comic Slayer channel, and this is my husband,
Reed, also from the channel.
Reed Chancellor, who also makes books. Check them out, they're really great. But we're talking about other great books today.
Yeah.
No offense, Reed, I'm so sorry. But my favorite read of 2022, I don't think anyone would be surprised if you know anything about me. And that is, of course, May's book by Jeff Lemire. Dark Horse put this out. It is classic Jeff Lemire. His beautiful art, I know there's some controversy saying that, but I adore his art, and it is wonderful throughout this whole thing. You know, it's about a guy who, of course, lost his daughter. I say of course because something has to make you cry in Jeff Lemire books.
If it's a Jeff Lemire book, something sad has happened.
That's right. He's unfortunately grieving the loss of his daughter, and one night he gets a mysterious phone call from someone who claims to be her. So from then on, this whole book, the way it's set up, everything about it, his daughter loved puzzles, there's interesting like panel work throughout this whole thing. It's like a puzzle in itself, and it's beautifully done. It's one and done. It's a great, nice hardcover as well, and it gave me all the feels, and it's classic Jeff Lemire. It'll make you feel a lot of things, and you should totally read it. And it's absolutely my favorite read of the year.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to read it. I haven't read it. Yeah. So, but this one is one that we both have read.
That's right.
And we almost had an argument over both of us picking this book, and I told her she can't pick the same book as me because I was mine first. And that is The Impending Blindness of Billy Scott by Zoe Thorogood. And this is just such an amazing book. I'm trying to find... The art is so weird and great. It is a story about the one Billy Scott, which, as the title says, is going blind. And it is her journey of trying to put together her art show, right as she was basically given like a time limit of how long she has with her sight left. And it's her journey through that, dealing with that dilemma and that trauma and all of that. And it is just an incredibly well executed and drawn and just perfectly told story. I really think Zoe Thorogood is going to be someone to watch in the upcoming years. They just had a book come out by Image, as well as they've done some other cool stuff. So,
absolutely, sure. This is absolutely in my top 10 as well. It's such a great book, and I think everyone should read it.
Absolutely.
So, read these books.
They're really good. Read the books. It's what we do.
Check out the ComicSlayer channel if you want more interesting picks like these.
If you want to watch videos of us fighting and talking about books,
that's what we do. It's the best.
Yeah. Thanks for having.
Thanks.
Hey everybody, I'm Rockin' Robbie from Pop Culture Philosophers, where you'll find weekly comic reviews, weekly movie discussions, weekly live streams, all that jazz, and so much more. I want to highlight one of my favorite collections of 2022, which is the complete 8-ball from Fantagraphics. This is an excellent package, well put together, great binding, and just one of my absolute favorite weirdo, bonkers, off-the-wall comic book series ever. 8-Ball was an anthology comic book series by one of my favorite cartoonists, Daniel Clowes. It ran from the late 80s through like the late 90s, early 2000s, and in here you're going to get the full stories of Ghost World, Like a Velvet Glove, Cast in Iron, so many other classics, but you get so much more than that. And each issue is meticulously recreated in this paperback edition. They've done this in hardcover already. Those are well out of print, very expensive, but now for $50, you can get the complete 8-ball right here, and it's beautifully put together. It even has the modern cartoonist in there. If you like alternative, underground, indie comics, this is for you. It's cynical, it's critical, it's hilarious. It is subversive, but it's also funny. It's also uplifting, but at the same time, self-deprecating. I love this book. It's quirky. You won't read anything else like it. It's one of my favorites. So if you like independent underground comics, I highly encourage you to check out the complete 8-ball from Daniel Clowes and Fantagraphics. Fantastic stuff. And thanks to Near Mint Condition, the Uncanny Omar, and crew for allowing me to be the part of this. You're doing the Lord's work, spreading the gospel of comics. Station.
Hi guys, it's White Cat Cosplay, or as you might know me, Professional Ass Tina. If you've joined an AMA or Saturday stream where I've made an appearance, you can find me on most social media platforms as White Cat Cosplay. In fact, you can actually join Dan, Andrew, Maddie, myself, and Rob over our second channel, Near Mint Collective, where Omar occasionally makes an appearance as. That is Near Mint Collective, or NMC2. Anyways, so what am I doing here? Apparently, Omar asked me, Tina, what was your favorite read this year? And I had to pause because I had made myself a New Year's resolution back in 2021 that I was going to read more manga, get back into comics. And like all New Year's resolutions, that did not really happen. But I did have one standout that I actually added to my collection, and I'm continuing to collect. Yes, it's an ongoing series, so it hasn't finished yet. For those binge readers, I'm sorry. But for people like me that want to add to their collection, pick up something new that is current and being produced at this time, this is an excellent read. Excellent read. It is Meruko-tan, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. For you guys who can actually speak it, please correct me down below. It is by Tomoki Izumi. and it is released by Yen Press. This little manga is a little bit more, of course it follows a high schooler. It is not quite edgy or stupidly scary or gore-filled, but it does have these excellent yokai, these Japanese ghost and creatures. The student, unfortunately, can see these characters. She goes about her daily life struggling with pretending that she can't see these creatures because you don't know what's going to happen to her if she lets on that she can see these. Are they going to do something odd? Is something going to happen to her? Is she going to be ostracized from society? So it's really her struggles. It's a little fan servicey at times, but I really enjoyed it. So I'd suggest, if you want to pick up a new title this year, if you want to try something different than what you usually go for, I'd suggest this book. Yeah, let's go do it. It's stinking cute. And, you know, a little creepy at times.
Heyo, it's OmniDog. Thanks for tuning in to this. Thank you to Omar from Very Fine Condition for asking me to make this video. My favorite book of the year. I am OmniDog from OmniDog's Vault on YouTube, OmniDog_Vault on Instagram. My favorite book of the year, Layla Starr, The Many Deaths of Layla Starr by Ram V. This is a fantastic book. We find out in the upper echelons of the Hindu religion that death has been downsized. She's out of a job and corporate calls her in to tell her she's out of a job. She does not take it well because apparently on Earth, a baby is going to be born that ends up creating immortality, and she's out. So she has to go to Earth and become a mortal. And she, as she's leaving, she calls in a favor from another god to put her in the body of somebody near where the baby is born so she can kill the baby. And she ends up inhabiting the body of Layla Starr, who is recently deceased. Death goes in to kill the child and can't quite do it. Ram V is writing poetry here. This is an amazing book. Layla Starr walks right out of the hospital and is immediately killed. I'm not spoiling anything because it's called The Many Deaths of Layla Starr. And Layla Starr gets reincarnated at various points in this person, this little baby who's going to create immortality. She gets reincarnated 5 years later, reincarnated 12 years later, like that, because the god of life is on Earth and is doing her favors to keep reincarnating her. She keeps running across this person as a young man, as a young adult, as an old man, and she experiences the mortal world, learns what it's like, learns about love, sex, death, and she ends up, I don't want to spoil it for you, but she ends up making a connection with the guy. There's a great chapter in here, and it covers a lot of what life is like at the time in Mumbai, India, where I believe Ram V is from. So the art is fantastic, and it covers lots of interesting things that happen in Mumbai. If you get this book, you should read Ram V's account of it, because he works in a lot of things that happen in Mumbai, certain riots and things like that. And there's even a chapter that's told by a cigarette that Death smokes, and the cigarette becomes omniscient, but he doesn't have long to tell the story because the cigarette's burning down. And he tells the story of how the protagonist in the story, that his name's Darius, the one who is supposed to invent immortality. He tells a story about Darius and his two other friends and what happened to them. And it is really well told. Death comes to experience what life is like as a mortal on Earth. after she keeps getting reincarnated, she retains her memories. And it also talks about the last Chinese church or place of worship in Mumbai, and how the place of worship is empty, but it talks to death as she can understand it. Ram V writes, as I said, he writes real poetry in this book. Highly readable, comical, serious. It's a meditation on life and what it's like to live a life, how important it is to live life to the fullest, and what death discovers when she comes down to earth. This is much different than Neil Gaiman's death. I understand the comparisons. It's also been compared to Day Tripper. I understand the comparisons, but Day Tripper is a great book, and so is Neil Gaiman's Sandman. But this is a completely different story than those books, and it's a very sweet, philosophical book that you are welcome, because I bought the trade and now it's coming out in a deluxe next year. So you can wait for the deluxe, but this is my book of the year, The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, put out by Boom, and hats off to Ram V for writing a tear-jerking, sweet, funny, philosophical treatise on life. It is brilliant. Thank you for letting me share this video with you, and please tune in to OmniDog's Vault on YouTube. Peace and love. Peace and love. What? Peace and love. Take care.
What's up, Minties? I'm Bunkmaster B. You may know me here as a moderator for YouTube and Discord for Near Mint Condition, but I also have a YouTube channel where I yell about comics and talk about original comic art. But today I'm talking about my favorite reads of 2022, and there were so many great comics this year. I took the coward's way out, and I'm including 2 honorable mentions. First of which, It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth, an autobiographic novel by Zoe Thorogood. It's out by Image. This is an amazing memoir about Zoe's time actually making this book. Up front, trigger warnings for depression and self-harm, major things that go through here, but Zoe does amazing things with the panel layout and the format of the book that just really you won't see many other places. Also, she sketched my book and she signed my sweet potato, so, you know, I kind of gotta include it. Next up, this might have been the best book I read this year, and that's Cliff Chiang's Catwoman Lonely City. This is out by DC's Black Label. This is, for my money, the best Catwoman story that's ever been done. I would put it over Selena's Big Score. This book is fantastic. It's so good. But as far as my favorite read, I gotta go with Kaiju Score, Steal from the Gods, from Aftershock Comics, written by James Patrick, art by Rembrew. This is an amazing heist story. It's the follow-up to their original 4-issue series, Kaiju Score. In this, a small team has to break into a secure Russian bank, go into a sleeping kaiju, and steal an ancient treasure. It's as crazy and wild as it sounds, and the team packed so much into those 4 issues that every issue is a wild ride. You can't wait to see where it goes, and I can't wait to see what happens next. But before it comes next, read this.
Hey Minties, we've had a terrific year. So, Astonishing Melanie's favorite read of the year is, drumroll, Alf in 3D! Look at that, isn't it amazing? Lots of puns. He's saying all these D words over here, 3 of them for 3D. What? And, okay, here's my real pick for the year. Oh, I'm gonna hug it. Look how gorgeous this is. Wonder Woman, Gods and Mortals by George Perez. Rest in peace. This is, oh my goodness, a masterpiece. Look at this. Almost said I didn't have to show any artwork, but oh my gosh, it's half the story, half the artwork, maybe a little bit more of the artwork. This was voted as a pick for the book club, which you could be part of on the Patreon. And it just, it blew me away. I love the elevated language, like back in the olden days, and like Greek mythology. and the artwork was just gorgeous. And Princess Diana, she is just so innocent and pure and worthy to be emulated. And oh man, I will say I will give a trigger warning for sexual assault that is in the story. However, it's like how they come back from that and how strong everybody can prove to be. To wrap it up, my favorite parts are when she's flying through the air. Oh, and I really appreciate how when she came to Boston, she was friends with like an older lady and there was no romantic involvement with Trevor, which is fine, but it was awesome.
And you can get most of these books that were talked about in this segment from our sponsor here in America. CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. Wow, that was a lot of fun to go through and put together. And yes, some of them chose more than one book, but hey, I have a top 10 list, so who am I to complain? But I do want to take this time to thank the wonderful people that decided to do this project with me. And they're all wrong, though. All of them are wrong, because this is the only choice for the year. This is the must-read for the year. What was everybody thinking? Come on. In all seriousness, thank you so much to the wonderful people that took part of all of this. Go and check out their channels. I think Taylor's going to link them on social media. You know, give them some love. And absolutely, I want to keep doing this every year because this was a lot of fun to put together. Maybe we'll get more people involved the more we do this every year. So that's all I got left to say. Everyone stay healthy and safe. Thank you again to you wonderful folks that helped me do this. Much love.